This is how I wrote my book.
Everything is figured out. Marketing isn't about to discover and write in their own voice.
I'm going to give you a behind-the-scenes kind of look into my thinking on how I wrote this book. You know, I know a lot of people, you know, and I thought this too before I started writing the book. Like, it can't be so hard. Just take your course, take your content, just mash it together, repurpose it, and, you know, throw it in a book and sell it. And I know a lot of people think like that. It's not really true, okay? Writing this thing was hard. It was hard because I knew my content. I'd done it for years. I was kind of stuck in an echo chamber, and I didn't really understand, like, well, why can't I just do that? And then I'd read it, and it wouldn't read well. It was very dry, okay? So this is just kind of an unfiltered, me just sharing very recently after I've just finished writing this and sent it off to the publisher for editing and all that stuff, just giving you a behind-the-scenes look at what my thought process was, how several of my friends helped me kind of formulate my ideas. When I thought about writing this book, oh my goodness, I went through so many iterations and a lot of second guessing, and I'm just going to lay it all bare for you. You know, I signed this book deal many, many years ago, and I never wrote the book. Thankfully, my publishers, they honored the deal. But I went through some pretty tough, like, personal challenges over the last couple of years. I just did not have the creativity to write the book. And I'm glad I didn't, because in those interim years, I learned so much more. I had so much more time on the field of play, if you will, working with clients, working on bigger projects that I was able to incorporate into the book. So I just want to say that outright so that you don't think that this is something I just baked up one day. I'm just giving you the honest journey of me as an author, okay? And when I finally sat down to write the book, I had just taken a big contract with a client of mine. I was very, very busy. I was on site, moved to Florida, the whole deal. And I had money. It was okay, so I decided, let me invest in a ghostwriter. And I know that might sound like, why would you hire a ghostwriter? You can write, can't you? You're a copywriter. I just didn't have the time. So I hired a ghostwriter. And they took all my transcripts from my podcasts, right, my other courses, right, my speaking engagements, right, and they took all this content. And, of course, because I had a course, I had somewhat of a curriculum in my vault, if you will. I had a curriculum there. And so I told them, just write the book from all this stuff. Now, there's one quick thing I want to say here before I get into how all this worked, because I didn't actually end up using them. They did a lot of this work, and then I didn't use any of it. I started completely from scratch, right? So that was a lot of money that I spent that I didn't actually get anything for. Not their fault necessarily. I just wanted to write it. But when it comes to writing a book, in the book, in my book, and in my courses, in Brand You, I teach this. You have two types of entrepreneurs. There's a how-to-preneur, and then there's an ideapreneur. And I just made these words up. Okay? And when it comes to a book, a how-to-preneur obviously writes a how-to book, and an ideapreneur writes an idea-based book. And what I mean by this is that this book is curriculum-based, and this book is message-based. Now, I'm going to use myself as an example to help unpack this. I have a curriculum-based book. It's Brand You. It's an 8-step blueprint called the Brand You Blueprint. Every chapter is on one of the steps, so on and so forth. People can move through it almost like it is a course. It's almost like as if it's a textbook. Now, I'm in the marketing industry. There are marketers out there who write message-based books like Seth Godin, Purple Cow, Tribes, This is Marketing. It's not necessarily a curriculum. He's sharing a philosophy, or he's sharing a different perspective on marketing as an industry. So whatever industry you're in, just realize that there are curriculum-based books and there are message-based books. And it's important that you know which one you want yours to be. Is there going to be a blend between the two? Yes, of course, but it's going to lean more towards one side than the other. So when I finally decided through a lot of back and forth to write this book, and it was going to be a curriculum-based book, I was struggling, honestly, to put some life into the book. It almost didn't feel like it had a heart. It sounded like a textbook. And part of the reason is because I'd waited so long to write the book. Like I told you, I'd gotten the deal, years earlier. And at that time, had I written the book at that time, I would have been that much closer to the time in my life that I was writing about. Now, I was writing about my life from like 8 years ago. It's hard for me to get back there emotionally and connect, right? So what I really, really did here, despite having a curriculum and having all of this how-to stuff mapped out, I really had to reconnect to my journey behind the book, behind how I built my business, because there's a lot of that in the book. And I really just had to, this is what really helped me. I had to answer this question. How or what do you want readers to feel? That was the key word. How do I want them to feel? A friend of mine asked me this. She said, Mike, it could use a little bit more heart in the book. The content's great, very tactical, very straightforward, very nuts and bolts. What do you want readers to feel? How do you want them to feel? And you know what I said? And this is in the opening of the book. I literally just say, a friend of mine asked me this. And I said, I want them to feel like this. Finally, somebody has put this stuff together. I want them to feel relief. I want them to feel like they've been handed the missing piece. Like somebody has put this all together. It's finally here. And when I asked myself that question, it colored every other chapter that I read. I was able to go back into the content and just think, okay, what do I want them to feel after this? I want them to feel like finally someone has explained copywriting in a way that made sense. Well, if that's true, what can I say? What can I add? What stories can I put in that will make them feel this way? I want to invite you to pick up a copy of my book, You Are the Brand. You can go on youarethebrandbook.com or find it on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, anywhere. I hope that you will consider picking up a copy of this book. It's going to serve as a guide for you, a roadmap, a blueprint for you, if you will. And don't give up on building your personal brand. You can do this. There is a process, and I'm here to help you. Hope to talk to you soon.